Eric Mangini, Fox Sports NFL analyst. I don't think it's that difficult. Am I wrong on this? Just don't bet NFL, don't bet in the facility. Bet March Madness. Is it hard?
No. Look, you can't bet on games, and everybody knows it. You can't bet in the facility. Like it's amazing that they're having as many issues as they are with this, and I'm sure they've been very transparent out in front with what the rules are. And you know, like you can't bet on games. You can't do it.
So I saw the NFL.com had their all under 25 team, first and second team. It was all first and second round picks. The only exceptions were a blood clot issue for a guard who fell and a safety at USC who had injury issues. Both were high school All-Americans. Both were all conference. Both were great players, but injuries dropped them. Basically, get your stars in the first or second round. When you look at that, how do guys view third, fourth, fifth, sixth? How did you look at the draft?
You felt, you wanted to hit on the first round. We always felt that if we could get our first rounder to play 1,000 reps, which means the first rounder becomes a starter. In the second round, if we could get that guy to play at least 500 reps as a rookie, that would be successful. And that 500 reps could come in a combination of substituted defenses or situational offensive packages and special teams. And then those other rounds were chances that you could get really good players that would develop and contribute a lot, but they all had their different flaws that they had to overcome. You had to figure out, how they were going to fit into your system. And then sometimes you hit huge with those guys.
Yeah. So I said this last year, didn't come to fruition. I said the downside to being great and winning rings is it gets to be an expectation. And Robert Kraft is not going to sit there if they finish fourth and struggle again to score in an offensive league and go, I got my rings. I've got my net worth. I do think Bill's under pressure. The DC to OC backfiring adds to it. I mean, you tell me, what is Bill facing this year pressure-wise in your opinion?
Well, I think that Robert made it very clear when he said, I'm looking for my seventh. That's a very apparent mandate in terms of expectations. It's not looking to get back to the playoffs. It's not looking to go deep into the playoffs. It's looking to win another Super Bowl. And that bar has been set. And Robert has given some ground. I think he gave ground when they moved on from Tom, and Tom goes to Tampa and wins the Super Bowl. I think he gave ground when they tried the experiment last year, and that didn't work out. They've missed the playoffs 2 out of 3 years, and it's really unfathomable that you think Bill Belichick is under pressure or on the hot seat. But when you set the bar as high as you have, and you've won as much as you've had, and then recently things haven't worked out, then that happens. And the idea that they could be fourth in that division, I'm sure would make Mr. Kraft sick.
As a coach for the Jets for 3 years, it's a pretty impulsive owner. It's an intense fan base. New York is simply different. It's just different. There's a lot of reasons that New York is the best city in the country, and there's other reasons it could drive people crazy. But when you're in sports, the expectations for even a team like the Mets and the Jets that don't have a history of a lot of trophies, it's really high. And so when I look at Aaron Rodgers' Hard Knocks, I don't think Hard Knocks makes a good team bad. I don't think it affects it. But it is interesting. So Aaron's never had a bad O-line. He's never had a defensive coach. He's never had a media that's aggressive and pushes back. Hard Knocks will get attention. I think Aaron will be fun and entertaining. To be honest with you, that's who I'd want to be on it. But I do think that you have the experience that others don't, is that you're asking an older player who can be a bit prickly, defensive coach. O-line's in question. A lot of young teammates, brutal division, a relentless media. What's realistic to you? Can you see potholes, or do you think this thing is going to work?
Well, I'm not sure if it's going to work. I think it's going to have to work in order for the current coaching staff to stay another year. Look, I went through this with Brett Favre, and as soon as you go get a player that's a future Hall of Famer and you insert him into a team that's emerging like the Jets are, expectations are going to be through the roof. And then you pay $100 million for that player and you give up some draft picks. The idea is that they're going to either compete for the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl. And that's the expectation of the fan base. I'm sure that's the expectation of the owner. And I don't think it's unreasonable. Aaron Rodgers gives you a chance to win every game. You already were very good defensively. You were in a bunch of tight games last year. And I think that those expectations are probably fair. And you may want to, as a head coach, try to downplay those, but you can't. You can't in New York. And I went through it with Brett, and it's either Super Bowl or bust, really, for New York.
Was New York unfair in their criticism? Because the Favre thing worked until he got banged up. Was there a point with Favre that did you think the New York media and the fans had contextualized it, were realistic? Because baseball fans in New York, the Mets spent a bunch of money. You can buy relevance. It's hard to buy wins overnight. But I mean, in your experience, were New York fans in the media, did they kind of understand this would take a while?
No. It's one of the. It's not something where it's not a place that's built on patience. And when you look at what the New York Giants did last year, that patience becomes even smaller. So Brian Daboll goes into a situation that's really difficult and brings the team to the playoffs. And now you're the New York Jets, and you're getting a guy who's 1 year removed from back-to-back MVPs. The expectation is you're going to go to the playoffs. You're going to go far into the playoffs, and you should compete for the Super Bowl. And even if it if that wasn't the case, look, New York's a hard place, and they expect to win. And it doesn't matter what team you are. If you're not winning and holding up your end of the bargain, then they're going to want you to go someplace else.
Not to be cynical, but I read all the expectations on Jordan Love, and I said this. Patrick Mahomes, they leaked video out very early on Mahomes. Video got out. And it was like it was like the 22 film, or it was film that I could never get access to. Right? It was practice video that doesn't get out. And it was Mahomes rolling right, throwing left, and I'm like, where did that video come from? They wanted it out. When Daniel Jones got drafted, viewed as a reach, the Giants suddenly released slow-mo video. It was like Chariots of Fire. It was Daniel, the ball never hit the ground, right? Like, stuff gets out when somebody wants it out. 4 years with Jordan Love, there's no intense practice video. Isn't that a tell? Isn't that something, Eric?
First of all, I love how you lead with, not to be cynical. You're not to be... Yeah, look, this is one of those situations where, again, you better be right. You've got Aaron Rodgers costing $40 million on the salary cap in dead money, 17% of the salary cap. You trade him away for really nothing compared to what they got for Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson. So you made that decision. You drafted a guy in the first round. He's been there for 3 years. This is not a rookie. This is a guy that's been in the program for 3 years. You better be right, because you essentially gave away Aaron Rodgers in a lot of ways compared to what other people got. And you've got 3 years of evaluation, of tape, of experience, all those things. He should come out and be really good. And the expectation should be very high there as well. I don't know if that's totally fair, because it is going to be his first year starting. But for what they gave up, for what they're eating in terms of cap space, and for the fact that the guy's been there 3 years, he should come out firing. Yeah.
So Eric Mangini is joining us.
But you're a little cynical about that, I think.
Well,
maybe the twitch.
The team you loved last year was the Raiders. And I said a couple days ago that the Raiders are a volcano with a logo. There's always molten lava bubbling right underneath the surface, right? It's just inches away. So Josh McDaniels is obviously a great coordinator. But in Denver, he rubbed people the wrong way. He rubbed Derek Carr the wrong way. And I said this. I know he's smart. But there is something about certain personalities. It's okay to be polarizing, for instance, for me to my audience, not to my bosses. And there's something about Josh McDaniels. It feels like it's starting to turn. Josh Jacobs unhappy, Devontae Adams talking, Derek Carr. You know Josh McDaniels. I don't know him, but I like him. It feels like it's going sideways again, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is a hard situation. I really like Josh McDaniels a lot, and he is incredibly smart. And I think Mick Lombardi, the offensive coordinator, is another guy who's incredibly smart and is going to be a head coach. So they've got a good staff. Rob Ryan is there on the defensive side, but you go in and you try to change a culture and insert a culture that you believe in, and that has worked for a long time. And I understand what Josh is trying to do, but as you do that and you break a lot of eggs in the process, whether it's what happened with Derek Carr, who I've always really liked, and it seems like his teammates really liked him, and then you trade away Darren Waller, and now you've got a situation where your best player is unhappy because he's been franchised. Now in year two, you better win a lot of games early to get the confidence of the building back and the team behind you. It's not that I think that Josh's process is flawed or the things that he believes in are flawed. The timeline has changed for a lot of head coaches in terms of how long they have to insert a program. So he's going to have to win games early. Otherwise, the hole in the boat is going to get a lot bigger, I think.
Many people not realize this, but when you left NFL coaching, you went and hung out with the Niners for a couple of years, and you were in the room with Harbaugh, and you know the Niners personnel very well. You know it. You probably know John Lynch well, Kyle Shanahan, a lot of guys you know in sports. You've been around for a long time. And so I had somebody on the other day, and I said, when do you think the Niners knew, oh boy, this Trey Lance thing ain't great? And there's no right answer, but go back. You told me once you guys had made a big pick in New York, and you kind of knew. How long do you think? Because the Sam Darnold acquisition's pretty clear. That's option 2 or 1. Like that's pretty clear. How long do you think? Do you think it's causing any? How long did it take? Do you think Kyle Shanahan's bitter because he wanted Mac Jones? How do you think that thing plays?
Well, look, I've seen guys develop at different paces, and DeBrickshaw Ferguson his first year didn't light it up. He left tackle. We drafted him 4th overall, and then he got it, and he became a really good player for a long time. It just took a while, and with quarterbacks, Tom Brady wasn't very good his first year, and I've said that a bunch of times. But there was patience, and there were traits, and you saw the development and the growth. I don't know where Trey came into the mix. Again, to give up what they gave up and to move as aggressively as they did to get him, you would feel that they had a love for this player. And the way things have played out, they got extremely lucky with Brock Purdy. I mean, that's like lightning in a bottle. So I don't know if the evaluation on Trey Lance is complete. I don't know if they had really committed to him and done the things that accentuated his skill set, whether or not we would have seen a lot of growth. And I'd like to see him get to play even this year in some packages to see whether or not he's made improvements from the last time he played.
Yeah. Eric Mangini, who summers in the Northeast.
I'm in Cape Cod. I'm not too far from where you summer, right?
Yeah. Well, about 3,000 miles. Good seeing you, Coach, as always.
All right. We'll see you.
All right. Eric Mangini. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.